Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, the strongest copy of Dragon Ball. Chapter 1. In the Dark Universe, Deathly Silence. There are only countless planets of different sizes, dotted in the vast expanse of space like stars. Suddenly, a small universe spaceship wrapped in a white halo gallops past the pitch-black universe, almost in a flash, at an astonishingly fast speed. 2 days. There are 2 more days until we reach Earth. Lin Yan sat in the spaceship of universe, narrowing his eyes slightly, eyes filled with excitement, staring at the flickering planet and the remaining days on the display screen in front of him, muttering to himself. It has been a full month since he came to this place, and during this month, he spent most of his time on his way to the Earth. Lin Yan is an online novel author who rushes to the street. After typing all night, the mobile phone on the bedside suddenly exploded. When he woke up again, he had appeared on a strange and desolate planet, and got a new body. On that planet, except for the bare mountains with a bit of yellow, there is an octagonal monster the size of a cow. There are no flowers, trees, trickling streams, and no human figure. After calming down, Lin Yan knew that he had time traveled by combining the current situation and the bloody routines of countless time-traveling novels. And the only message left by this new body is, Planet Vegeta, Saiyan, and a spaceship of universe. That's right, I really crossed like a dog, and crossed into the dangerous world of Dragon Ball, becoming an exiled low-level Saiyan warrior. When he just crossed, Lin Yan was very frightened and annoyed. Even if others crossed the Dragon Ball world, they would still become the main characters in Dragon Ball, Son Goku, Son Gohan and Vegeta, important characters in Dragon Ball. It's good for me. Not only did I travel to a garbage planet that doesn't shit, but I also became a low-level Saiyan with a combat power of less than 2000 and didn't even know his own name. However, this annoyance gradually dissipated after a few days. Because Lin Yan was pleasantly surprised to find that after time traveling, he actually got a golden finger, something like a duplication system. Then Lin Yan had a thought, and saw a virtual projected image appear on his retina. Host: Lin Yan. Copied skills: none. Reproducible skills: none. Originally, he wanted to verify what was going on with this replication system. It's just that on the barren planet before, there wasn't even half a person, so his copied skills would show nothing. In this world where universes are destroyed at every turn, crises are lurking all the time, so I must become stronger to ensure that I will not be strangled to death by other strong people like ants. This is also the reason why I want to rush to the Earth in such a hurry. First, the Earth is relatively safe now. Second, I can also try to see if my golden finger can copy the skills of Son Goku and other Z warriors on the Earth. Third, I urgently need to become stronger now. And the spiritual time room of the Temple of Heaven on Earth is an excellent place for cultivation. After thinking about this, Lin Yan slowly closed his eyes again. After nearly a month, he is almost used to this lonely and boring day. There are only 2 days left, and he will soon reach the Earth. Up. The spaceship is still galloping rapidly in the universe, and it is getting closer and closer to the Earth. Time is like running water, 2 days are almost fleeting. Boom. Accompanied by a loud noise, the violent vibration of the universe spacecraft woke him up. Has it arrived yet? Lin Yan opened his eyes and looked at the screen in front of him. The remaining days had become 0, and he had already arrived on Earth. What? Just when Lin Yan's universe spaceship landed on the ground, a panicked voice sounded suddenly. Is that Saiyan's universe ship? How is that possible? And at the place where the Lin Yan universe spacecraft landed, 4 figures appeared. If Lin Yan sees them, they will be very familiar. Because the 4 people in front of me are all important characters in Dragon Ball. They are Son Goku, Son Gohan, Kling and Yaki Lobe. At this moment, Keelan's whole body trembled. Looking at the Saiyan universe spaceship that suddenly appeared in front of him, he cried out in horror. A Vegeta just now almost killed them all, and now there is another Saiyan universe spaceship. I don't know what kind of scary guy will come out of it. What? Is the Earth really going to end this time? At this time, Son Goku's bones had been crushed by Vegeta after turning into a giant ape, and he couldn't move at all. Now even a common man can easily kill himself. When Yakilobe on the side saw the universe ship, he hid behind a huge rock in panic. Creak. And at this moment, the hatch of the universe spacecraft was opened a crack. Krillin clenched his fists tightly and looked at the opened universe spaceship with heavy eyes. Goku and Gohan were seriously injured, Piccolo and Tien Shin and Yamcha were all killed by Vegeta and Nappa. Now the only one who can fight is himself alone. Creak. There was another crisp sound, the cabin door was fully opened, and a figure in a panic walked out of the universe spaceship. The reason why I say embarrassed is because the person who came out of the universe spaceship has a messy jet black hedgehog head, bare naked to the upper body, and only a piece of animal skin covers an important position. And this person is Lin Yan. If it really is Saiyan. When Klin saw the familiar hairstyle and the flexible tail behind him, his whole body trembled violently because of extreme fear. Krillin. The moment Lin Yan stepped out of the universe spaceship, he saw the familiar little bald head. The sole character in Dragon Ball, from the protagonist at the beginning, has become a soy sauce character who is trying to find a sense of existence in the end. Afterwards, Lin Yan glanced around and saw two other figures lying on the ground, who were also very familiar. Son Goku, Son Gohan. Lin Yan yelled again in surprise. He never thought that he would meet these people as soon as he arrived on Earth. And it looks like, this time should be when Vegeta left the Earth just after he injured Son Goku and others. There is still a faint breath. Is it Yaki Rob? Lin Yan, who is familiar with the plot of Dragon Ball, knows that that coward Yaki Rob must be hiding somewhere at this time. How do you know us? Hearing that Saiyan in front of him actually called out their names, Keelan's terrified eyes showed a trace of suspicion and confusion. Is it because of the combat power detector you are carrying? Klin still maintained his posture of being ready for battle at any time, looked at the combat power detector worn by Lin Yan's ear, and asked vigilantly. He knew that Saiyan was carrying a combat force detector as well as a communication function, which Vegeta told them. Could it be, this guy came to help Vegeta because he knew they defeated Vegeta? How do I know about you? Lin Yan took a step forward, with a smile on his face, and said slowly, you may not believe me, I know you better than you yourself. As for this thing, it's been broken long ago, and it's just for being handsome. After Lin Yan's faint voice fell, he took off the combat power detector next to his ear, threw it on the ground, and crushed it with his foot. Nice to meet you, Clint. Lin Yan walked to Klin's side step by step, and said with a harmless smile on his face. Wait. Keelan hurriedly shook his hands and backed away. Although he felt that the guy in front of him was not as strong as Vegeta, he still couldn't overcome the fear that Saiyan brought to him. Don't worry, there are good and bad Saiyans, and I, like Son Goku, belong to the good category. Lin Yan didn't care about Keelan, who was in panic, and grabbed Keelan's hand. Just when Lin Yan took Keelan's hand, a line of small characters appeared on the retina. Copyable skills. Chi Yuan / whether to copy. Looking at the small words, Lin Yan recited directly in his heart excitedly. Copy. Just after Lin Yan's voice fell, with a thought, he saw the illusory projection appear on the retina. Copied skill. Chi Yuan / copyable skills. Kamehameha Wave, Kaioken, Spirit Bomb, copy or not. It's gone. What the hell? Lin Yan almost jumped up excitedly. Unexpectedly, as soon as I arrived on Earth, I would meet Son Goku, Keelan and others. Moreover, his own replication system was so powerful, the moment he came into contact with Klin, he copied Klin's Chi Yuan Zan. At this moment, Lin Yan seemed to see himself standing at the tip of the universe, overlooking the gods. After copying Klin's Chi Yuan / Lin Yan let go of Klin's hand decisively, and appeared beside Son Goku like a cunning rabbit. Only Keelan was left with a confused face. What happened just now? Are you okay, Kakarot? Lin Yan seemed to be very concerned about Son Goku, helped Son Goku up, patted Son Goku's shoulder lightly, and asked. And at this moment, a line of small words, blue, appeared on the virtual screen of the retina again. Copyable skills. Kamehameha Wave, Kaioken, Spirit Bomb, copy or not. Copy. Lin Yan nodded excitedly without any hesitation. Just copied Klin's Chi Yuan / which made Lin Yan completely believe in his copying system. It's a mess of cowhide. I don't need to do anything at all, and I don't need to be threatened by the system, let alone complete the task specified by the system, to copy other people's skills. You really aren't with Vegeta. Son Goku looked at Lin Yan with droopy eyes, and asked in a very weak tone. Of course, like you, I am also an Earthling with a Saiyan body. Lin Yan smiled sincerely. Although the Earth he said was not the Earth he lived in, he would never destroy it. Because in the days to come, he will still live here. Ha, ha ha, I believe you. From your eyes, I can see that you don't have the violence and cruelty of Vegeta and the others. Son Goku smiled far-fetchedly and said, the Saiyan in front of me has completely different eyes from Vegeta, Raditz and the others. Woo woo woo. At this time, a low roar sounded from the sky, and a mini helicopter landed from above the heads of Lin Yan and others. It's Teacher Wushan and Bulma. Clint spoke excitedly. And the moment the helicopter landed, a sharp voice sounded eagerly. Gohan, my Gohan. Chi-Chi pushed away Master Roshi in front of him, and appeared in front of Son Gohan in an instant, with an astonishingly fast speed. Totally ignored Lin Yan, the terrible Saiyan. As for Master Roshi and Bulma, they looked at Lin Yan with fear on their faces. The face that resembled Son Goku and Raditz made them feel scared and dare not go forward. Kai, Chi-Chi, Gohan is fine, but Goku seems to be hurt a little bit more. Krillin looked at Chi-Chi, who was holding Son Gohan, and said, Gohan, it's all right, Mom won't let you leave me again. My poor Gohan, at a young age, got involved in the battle of adults. Chi-Chi didn't hear Krillin's words at all, and still hugged Son Gohan tightly. This made Lin Yan feel that Chi-Chi is still the same Chi-Chi. Kling, that Saiyan, what the hell is going on? Bulma and Master Roshi moved behind Klin little by little, looked at Lin Yan vigilantly, and asked. I don't know, but now it seems that although he is also Saiyan, he seems to be different from Vegeta. Clint shook his head and explained. If that Saiyan was as vicious as Vegeta, he would have killed them all just now. You, who are you? What's your name? Bulma hid behind Klin, with mixed expressions of curiosity and fear on his face, looked at Lin Yan and asked weakly. Lin Yan stroked his chin, thought for a while before speaking. Because of his previous body, he didn't know his name at all, and now he can only be called Lin Yan. My name is Lin Yan, so I'm Kakarot's big brother. Now that I am a serious Saiyan, I naturally want to be called Son Goku Saiyan. After finishing speaking, Lin Yan turned his attention to Bulma. At this time, Bulma was wearing a streamlined ponytail, wearing blue short sleeves and khaki shorts, showing off her slim figure, and at the same time, that girlish feeling overwhelming. Slender beautiful legs, fair skin, and big watery eyes are definitely a different existence for female divine grade. It's simply not comparable to those vulgar fans of the anchors in my own world. What do you mean, even Goku's big brother? Hearing Lin Yan's perfunctory answer, Bulma whispered angrily. But don't dare to be too obvious. If you want to know more about me, I suggest you take me back to your home first, and you can study it slowly. Lin Yan said seriously. He has just come to Earth now, and he has no place to stay yet. If you live in Bulma's big villa, it must be excellent. TCH. You think beautifully. Bulma pursed his lips, and secretly said in his heart, even if I, Bulma, were beaten to death, I would never bring such a savage to live in my home. Lin Yan didn't care about Bulma's words, anyway, sooner or later he would definitely live in Bulma's big villa. After looking at Son Goku, he then said, if you continue to ink, Kakarot may be about to burp. 3 hours later, in a luxurious villa in Exedu. Hey Bulma, can you help bring in my new clothes? Thanks. In the bathroom, Lin Yan yelled to the outside very naturally while enjoying the cozy feeling. It felt like calling a friend I was very familiar with, very natural. To be honest, in the months since he came to this world, Lin Yan never had such a comfortable shower. On that barren planet, he didn't even find clean drinking water. I don't know how this guy from before lived to such a big age in that place. Hearing the very natural commanding voice, Bulma's face was very ugly, full of anger, and the hand holding the clothes squeezed the clothes tightly. Tancho, what does this annoying guy think of me, Bulma? His servant. Bulma thought through gritted teeth. As the little prince of this villa, I have always stretched out my clothes, stretched out my hands to eat, and opened my mouth. I was always served by others. When did I ever do such a thing as serving others? Keelan and that turtle old man are really two guys, They even said that their home is relatively big, so let this dangerous guy live in his home first. I don't know what's going on in their minds. After sulking for a few minutes, Bulma still opened the outer door of the bathroom and threw the prepared clothes in. Creak. 3 minutes later, the bathroom door was opened. I said, "Do you want to be so black when you take a bath?" Bulma turned her head angrily, just when she was about to reprimand Lin Yan. Before the last word, Trace, was uttered, his pupils shrank, revealing a surprised expression. Nani, the ugly duckling has turned into a white swan. Bulma looked at the man in front of him in a daze, a tall man in his early 18s, with jet black prickly hair, and sharp facial features. The black martial arts uniform seemed to fit very well, and the faint smile on the corner of his mouth also made Bulma dazed for a while. He was completely different from the unkempt and foul-smelling barbarian from time to time. "Are there flowers on my face?" Seeing Bulma staring blankly at him, Lin Yan smiled and asked lightly. No. After Bulma was briefly absent-minded, he immediately woke up. "How could I act like a nympho in front of a strange man?" This suit seems to fit you well." Then quickly changed the subject. It fits pretty well, thank you." Lin Yan also answered in a very gentlemanly manner. Looking at Bulma at such a close distance, the exquisite facial features are like finely carved jade, and the slightly dull, watery big eyes add a bit of innocence. Lin Yan was in a daze for a while. Traveling to the world of Dragon Ball, if you miss this peerless beauty, you might as well hit yourself to death. At this moment, Lin Yan secretly vowed in his heart that he must take down Bulma and not leave it to that arrogant guy Vegeta. Let's go see how Kakarot is doing now. Lin Yan knows that feelings cannot be forced. The frog must be boiled in warm water, penetrated bit by bit, and let her fall in love with you bit by bit without knowing it. Although the time may be a little longer. Bulma nodded. He was sulking just now, but he forgot that Goku and the others were still in the hospital. Reminded by Lin Yan, Bulma also felt that she really should go and see Goku and the others. In the next time, both Lin Yan and Bulma arrived at the hospital. Because of Piccolo's death, the gods of the earth and the 7 Dragon Balls also disappeared together, but fortunately, Keelan heard the conversation between Vegeta and Nappa. In Piccolo's hometown, a place called Namek, there is also a 7 Dragon Balls. Maybe you can use the Dragon Ball there to resurrect Piccolo, so that the gods of the earth and the 7 Dragon Balls can also be resurrected again. And they also learned the location of the Namek Ball from King Kai. But the only question now is how to get to that distant planet. Now I know the location of Namek and the method to revive Piccolo, but the question is how should we get to Namek? Even with the latest power engine developed by my dad, it will take more than 4,900 years to reach Namek. Said. 4,900 years, this is a terrifying number for them. Among them, who can live for more than 4,000 years? Hey, have you forgotten that I in Nappa's universe spaceship, if you take that thing and reach Namek, it will only take about 10 days. Lin Yan looked at the frowning crowd, and said calmly. Yes, Saiyan's universe spaceship is much more advanced than Earth's technology. As long as my father and I make some improvements, we will definitely be able to reach Namek at the fastest speed. Reminded by Lin Yan, Bulma spoke excitedly. In the following time, Bulma used research as an excuse to borrow Nappa's universe spaceship from the Cultural Relics Civil and Military Bureau. Started remodeling with his dad, Dr. Breves. Son Goku needs to be observed and treated in the hospital for a month because of the serious injury. Although he was very unwilling, Immortal Karen's fairy beans hadn't been planted yet, so he had no choice but to stay in the hospital. As for Lin Yan, under Keelan's guidance, he went to the Temple of Heaven. Because my current combat power is only 2,000 points, which is much worse than Son Goku. In this dangerous world, I may be killed at any time. You must let yourself grow up in the shortest possible time. And the spiritual time room of the Temple of Heaven, 1 year of cultivation in it is equivalent to 1 day outside. It is a very suitable place for cultivation. After arriving at the Temple of Heaven, Keelan and Lin Yan explained their intentions and told Bobo that they would go to Namek to find the Dragon Ball to resurrect the God of God. After that, Bobo agreed to Lin Yan without any hesitation. Let him enter the spiritual time room to practice. In the spiritual time room, the temperature difference inside is very large. During the day, it can reach more than 60 degrees Celsius, but at night, it will drop to minus 50 degrees in an instant. Moreover, the gravity inside is 10 times that of the Earth, so although it is a perfect place for cultivation, it is also a very tortured place. It's really boring to stay here for a year or two in the future. After entering the gravity room, Lin Yan stood at the door of the spiritual time room, looked at the endless white space in front of him, and smiled helplessly. But fortunately, I also stayed in that universe spaceship that can only accommodate one person for nearly a month before, and I am almost used to the boring and lonely feeling. Besides, the environment here is much better than that in that universe spaceship. Okay, let's start practicing. Lin Yan gritted his teeth, fixed his gaze, and then stepped into the spiritual time room. When the first foot stepped on the white ground, a terrifying force of gravity made Lin Yan's body sink directly. If he hadn't made preparations long ago, he might have been crushed directly by the terrifying gravity. After all, my current weight of 180 jin would instantly become 1800 jin under 10 times the gravity. It was like carrying a 1800 jin boulder, and the body sank uncontrollably. Call. Lin Yan took a deep breath and stepped in with the other foot. The whole body was as heavy as if it had been filled with lead, and there was a cold sweat on his forehead. While Lin Yan was enduring the terrible gravity in the gravity chamber, Bulma and Breves also started to modify the universe spacecraft. If Drive Breves wants to complete the transformation of the universe spacecraft alone, it will take at least 10 days. But if you join forces with Bulma, it will probably only take 3 or 4 days. After Keelan brought Lin Yan to the Temple of Heaven, he returned to the hospital again. In this way, half a day passed quickly outside. It's just that half a day in the outside world is equivalent to half a year in the spiritual time house. At this time, in the gravity room, there was only a figure in tattered clothes standing on the white ground. Turtle, Pi, Chi, Gong, Bo. A deep voice came from his throat, and Lin Yan clasped his hands together, and a blue energy ball condensed in his palm. Aha! Then with a loud shout, Ki Blast directly punched forward. The moment the energy ball was hit, Lin Yan's body burst out like lightning. In an instant, he appeared in front of the Kamehameha wave, and his hands went directly towards the Kamehameha wave. After rubbing his feet against the ground and blasting back tens of meters, the Kamehameha wave exploded directly. Burst. Boom. At the same time as the terrifying explosion sounded, Lin Yan's body was directly blown away and fell heavily to the ground. Haha, I'm really a masochist. Feeling the soreness coming from his whole body, Lin Yan got up, and said to himself with a wry smile. The clothes on his upper body had all been turned into dust, and then he limped towards the small resting room at the door. Although I worked very hard every day for the past 6 months, endured the boring days, and even made myself scarred. But he could feel that his current combat power was no longer comparable to that of half a year ago. And now, I have been able to master Kigen Slash, Kamehameha Wave and Kaioken proficiently. As for Spirit Bomb, I haven't tried it yet. But this has made me very pleased. In the next half month, I will continue to challenge my limit and squeeze my potential as a fighting nation Saiyan. I hope that in the next year and a half, I can smoothly become Super Saiyan. After all, Namek himself must go, because Ginyu Special Forces Goldo's Time Pause ability and Namek Den's healing ability both make him very coveted. If copied, it will be a very good life-saving skill in the future. It's just that Frieza, the Emperor of the Universe, is also a character that is not easy to mess with. Frieza in the ultimate form has a combat power of 120 million points. Only by becoming a Super Saiyan, may he be able to defeat him. After thinking about it, Lin Yan rested for a while, ate something to satisfy his hunger, and then walked into the white space again. Outside, 2 days almost flew by as Bulma and Dr. Breves were still busy modifying the universe ship. And Son Gohan and Kling's injuries are almost recovered. In the end they decided to let Son Gohan, Keelan and Bulma go to Namek to find the Dragon Ball and resurrect Piccolo. Now Z Warrior, Piccolo, Tien Shinhan and Yamcha of the Earth have died, and Son Goku is seriously injured in the nest, and the only ones who can go to the Namek Ball to find the Dragon Ball are Son Gohan and Keelan. Although Chi-Chi tried his best to prevent Son Gohan from going to Namek, but in the end he couldn't hold back Son Gohan, Son Goku and others, and finally had to let go of his mouth and compromise. Of course, this is because King Kai at least told them that the residents of Namek Ball are a group of peace-loving people, and going to Namek Ball will not encounter any danger, so Chi-Chi reluctantly agreed. If the guys from Namek are as evil as Piccolo, even if Son Gohan said something, she would never agree. In the spiritual time room of the Temple of Heaven. 2 years, 2 full years, it seems it's time to go out. Lin Yan walked to the door of the spiritual time room, looked at the white space, and said lightly. At this time, Lin Yan looked a bit embarrassed, with his shirtless upper body showing his muscular muscles. Much stronger than 2 years ago, the whole person looks more mature, especially those dark and clear eyes, more tenacious. Then Lin Yan didn't hesitate any longer, and directly pushed open the door behind him, turned around and walked out at a leisurely pace. After all, if he stayed in the spiritual time room for more than 2 days, he would be left in this different space forever. You finally came out. As soon as I went out, I saw Mr. Popo who had been guarding the door. There was a little inconceivability in those round eyes, and a flat voice said. Before entering the spiritual time room, Lin Yan's strength was not very strong. At most, the people in Piccolo Lin were slightly stronger. Originally, Bobo thought that Lin Yan could stay in the spiritual time room for at most half a day. That's the limit. Unexpectedly, he stayed for 2 days at a stretch. It was a full 2 years in the spiritual time room, and the climate in the spiritual time room was very different. Coupled with the boring and lonely, most people couldn't even hold on for a few hours. So Bobo couldn't help admiring Lin Yan. Well, thank you Mr. Popo for taking care of me these days. Lin Yan also nodded very politely and said with a smile. It can be seen that his mood and state are very good at this time. I have prepared some food for you, come with me. With a flat expression on his face, Bobo said to Lin Yan in a slightly hoarse voice. Hearing Bobo's words, Lin Yan nodded and did not refuse. Although there is plenty of food and water in the spiritual time room, the food inside can only fill one's stomach. As for the taste, it is really not flattering. Lin Yan, who is familiar with the plot of Dragon Ball, also knows that the cooking skills of Mr. Popo and King Kai are quite good. After practicing for so long, it happened to be a good meal. After walking for a few minutes, the two came to an exquisite house, and they saw a table of delicious food with all kinds of colors and flavors. Lin Yan didn't care about anything, and just swallowed the jujube in a frenzy. After obtaining this Saiyan's body, Lin Yan's appetite was astonishing. Of course, for Saiyan, this can only be regarded as a routine operation. Belch. 5 minutes later, Sun Lin Yan finally burped, leaving only a stack of plates full of leftovers on the table. It's been a long time since I've eaten so full, it's so comfortable. Rubbing his bulging stomach, Lin Yan said contentedly. I have squeezed myself in the spiritual time room for 2 years, and now I realize that it is such an amazing thing to feel physically and mentally happy to have enough food. Please find the Dragon Ball and revive the gods, okay? After Lin Yan was full, Bobo, who had been standing straight to Lin Yan's right, suddenly spoke. Lin Yan looked up, just in time to meet Bobo's gaze. It was still wide open, still dull, but there were a few more crystal tears. Lin Yan could see that there was still some expectation in Bobo's eyes. Seems to be waiting for Lin Yan's answer. Looking at Bobo's expectant eyes, Lin Yan hesitated for 3 seconds, then nodded very seriously. Don't worry, I will definitely resurrect the gods. Bobo and the old god have accompanied each other for countless years in this temple of the gods. When they get old and become companions, the god suddenly disappears. Bobo's feeling of loneliness is indescribable. Whether it is out of sympathy for Bobo, or the future of the earth, I should resurrect the gods. Thank you Mr. Popo for the hospitality, the meal is delicious. Then Lin Yan stood up, patted Bobo on the shoulder, and said with a smile. It can be regarded as a comfort to the lonely Bobo. In the following time, Lin Yan was not in a hurry to return to Earth, because Dr. J. Luobo and Bulma probably did not remodel the spaceship of universe so quickly, and it would be a waste of time for him to go back now. In the original Dragon Ball, Mr. Popo's strength is capable of dealing with Super Saiyans Son Goten and Trunks at the same time, although the Super Saiyan of the two little devils is a bit watery. But no matter how it is Super Saiyan, it can't be too bad, so Lin Yan wants to fight Mr. Popo. Although in the 2 years in the spiritual time room, I have improved so much that even I was a little surprised, but my actual combat ability is very weak. When this body was on that barren planet, at most it had some battles with some ferocious beasts in order to survive, and it never had any actual combat with humans at all. And now if he returns to Earth, the fighting power of Son Gohan and Kling is simply not enough for him to practice, and Son Goku's injury is too serious. Even if he recovers, he will not be able to compete with himself. So if you want to practice actual combat, Mr. Popo is a very good candidate. 5 days passed again, and for Lin Yan, who was training against Mr. Popo, these 5 days almost passed in a flash. Of course, during these 5 days, Lin Yan also proved one thing, that is, Mr. Popo, who has hardly made any shots in Dragon Ball, does have some strength. At least their combat effectiveness is much higher than the current Son Goku and Vegeta. As for why he didn't make a shot when Raditz and Vegeta appeared on Earth, that's unknown. Mr. Popo, thank you again for your hospitality and cultivation these days. I must go back now. Lin Yan tidied up briefly, changed into a set of clean clothes, and said to Bobo, "It has been 7 days since I came to the Temple of Heaven, and Bulma and the others should have almost finished transforming the spaceship of Universe. In the past few days against Bobo, although he didn't go all out, it was quite fruitful, and he didn't improve much after staying. Time to follow them to Namek to meet Frieza and his Ginyu Special Forces." Bobo nodded. Lin Yan could see the reluctance in Bobo's eyes. Bobo is also very happy to be with Lin Yan for the past few days. Then Lin Yan didn't hesitate any longer, and with a leap, he turned into a stream of white light and jumped down from the Temple of Heaven. Lin Yan went straight back to Bulma's villa. When I arrived in the yard, I only saw Drive Breves and his lovely wife lying on the deck chairs in the yard, enjoying a pleasant afternoon. What's going on? Aren't Drive Breves and Bulma transforming the Universe ship? How come you have time to bask in the sun? Lin Yan looked at the two of them and thought with some doubts. Then he walked in front of Dr. Breves and asked, "Excuse me, is Bulma at home now?" "Yo, are you Bulma's boyfriend? You look so handsome." The moment Dr. Breves' wife saw Lin Yan, she didn't care about Drive Breves beside her, and said to Lin Yan directly with a sweet smile, "Would you like to drink a glass of orange juice and go on a date with me?" giggling. After she finished speaking, she actually covered her mouth and smiled. Lin Yan looked at Bulma's mother in front of her. She had golden curly hair, and a yellow striped tight dress outlined a sultry figure. Her smooth and fair skin showed no trace of the passage of time, and she smiled sweetly. It can be said to be a perfect combination of charm and purity, and looks more like Bulma's sister. "Sorry, orange juice and dates later, I have something to do with Bulma. Is she home now?" Lin Yan resolutely refused, but how attractive Bulma's mother is, after all, she is no longer her kind. Seeing Lin Yan's serious face, Dr. Breves on the side said to Lin Yan, "You mean Bulma? She was already driving that spaceship in the morning and said she was traveling to that planet. What, have they gone to planet Namek?" Lin Yan frowned and said in a low voice. Originally, he thought it would take at least 10 days for Dr. Breves and Bulma to transform the Universe spacecraft, but now it seems that it will be much faster than he expected. Fortunately, Frieza and the others should have about half a month to arrive at Namek, and Bulma and the others should be in no danger for the time being. "Excuse me then, I'll go first." Lin Yan turned around and was about to leave. He wanted to go to Son Goku to see if Son Gohan and Keelan went with Bulma. The two of them can protect Bulma as well. And just as Lin Yan turned around, Dr. Breves' voice sounded from behind again. "That kid. How far have you and Bulma got? Kiss on the mouth. Have you ever had? When can we hold our grandson?" Hearing Dr. Breves' unrestrained 4 consecutive questions, Lin Yan's body trembled slightly, and a black line flashed between his brows. I didn't expect this old guy's question to be so tricky. Then he turned his head and replied embarrassingly, "For the time being, not yet. As for the grandson, I will try my best." After finishing speaking, Lin Yan jumped with both feet, and disappeared into the courtyard surrounded by White's arrogance. In the following time, Lin Yan went to the hospital where Son Goku was, and learned from them that Bulma did go to the Namek ball with Son Gohan and Keelan. This also made Lin Yan breathe a sigh of relief. With Sun Gohan and Keelan around, it's relatively safe. Then Lin Yan brought his universe spaceship to Dr. Breeve's home, asked him to modify it for himself, and then set up a 300-fold gravity chamber. It will take at least 5 or 6 days to go dynamic. In these few days, I can just consolidate my strength in the gravity room. This is not a difficult task for Dr. Breeves, and he seems very interested. According to Dr. Breeves' estimation, it will take about 10 days for his universe spacecraft to be transformed. After all, without Bulma's help, and only need a gravity chamber, this is not an easy task even for Dr. Breeves. And during these 10 days, Lin Yan stayed in the backyard of Bulma's house almost every day to practice some weight-bearing strength and speed. Now the time is tight, and he must use every minute and every second to improve himself. These days, Lin Yan completely regards this place as his own home, and Bulma's parents are also very hospitable. Not only did they not dislike Lin Yan, but they took care of Lin Yan as their own son-in-law. This made Lin Yan more firm in his previous goal, to take down Bulma, a rich and beautiful goddess. Just like that, 10 days passed by little. And Bulma, Sun Gohan, and Keelan, after several twists and turns, also reached the Namek Ball smoothly. Look, have we arrived yet? In the spaceship universe, Kling standing by the cabin window suddenly found a green planet in front of him. Yes, we have indeed reached the Namek Ball. Bulma looked at the display screen of the spacecraft excitedly and said, "What a beautiful planet." Looking at the emerald green planet, Bulma said in a daze, "Okay, you two stand firm, we're going to find a place to land right away." After a brief absence, Bulma returned to the pilot's seat, ready to land. Sun Gohan and Keelan are also very obedient and put on their seat belts. It's no joke in space, and naturally everything must listen to Bulma. 3 minutes later, Bulma finally found an open place and landed the universe spaceship. The three stepped off the universe spaceship and looked around. The Namek Ball is actually very similar to the Earth, but the environment is much better than the Earth. With green mountains and clear water, the environment is very good, and the fresh air makes people feel more comfortable. Of course, this may also be the reason why the three of them stayed in the spaceship universe for 10 days. Where should we go to find the Dragon Ball now? Sun Gohan looked at Keelan and Bulma, and asked in a childish voice. He just wants to find Dragon Ball quickly and let Shenron revive Piccolo Uncle, so that he will feel less guilty. After all, Piccolo Uncle was killed by Nappa to protect himself. Hey, I have already prepared for this. Bulma smiled triumphantly, and took out a Dragon Ball radar from her pocket, which she deliberately made when transforming the universe spaceship. With the Dragon Ball radar, we'll have all the Dragon Balls in no time. Then Bulma directly pressed the activation button of the Dragon Ball radar. Dee. At the same time as the Dragon Ball radar made a crisp mechanical sound, 7 light spots appeared on the screen, and 4 of them seemed to be put together and seemed to be still moving. I found it, but how are those 4 Dragon Balls together? Bulma spoke with some puzzlement. Kling and Sun Gohan looked in the direction pointed by the Dragon Ball radar. Suddenly, Keelan's body trembled, and his brows furrowed tightly. And Sun Gohan on the side also showed the same expression. You feel it too, Gohan. Keelan looked at Sun Gohan, and suddenly said inexplicably. Well, a very strong chi. Sun Gohan also frowned and nodded, and replied. What are you two talking about? Bulma looked at the inexplicable 2 people in front of him with some puzzlement, and asked. In the direction where the 4 Dragon Balls gathered, there was a strong aura just now, and that aura was stronger than Vegeta. Keelan clenched his fists tightly, frowned, and said in a deep voice. Could it be a Namek? Bulma leaned to the side of the 2, and at the same time spoke with some fear. Probably not. Lord Kai said that the Namek people are a peace-loving nation, and the aura just now is very evil. Keelan still explained in a low tone. At this time, in the distant universe, a huge spaceship of the universe quickly slid across the void. My Lord Frieza, we're only 5 days away from reaching the Namek Ball. A respectful tone came from the swishing large universe spaceship. At this time, in the spaceship of universe, a rather handsome man with light green skin and dark green hair spoke. And in front of him was a small man with purple and red complexion sitting in the mobility vehicle. There are 2 pointed horns on the top of the head, and the most impressive thing is the evil smile on the corner of the mouth. Hey, thank you Mr. Sabo, how is the situation with Mr. Dodoria? Frieza, who was sitting in the mobility vehicle, smiled softly, looked at Sabo in front of him, and asked. For one's subordinates, the title can be regarded as respect. I have already collected 4 Dragon Balls. Don't worry, King Frieza. When we get to Namek Ball, all 7 Dragon Balls will be collected. Sabo said with a smug look on his face. Of course, being able to become the capable general of the universe Emperor Frieza is something that many people dream of, and he is indeed worthy of his pride. I am assured that Mr. Sabo and Mr. Dodoria are doing things, so I look forward to good news. Frieza still had a sinister look on her face, and said lightly. Dodoria was originally invading from a planet near Namek. When Vegeta got the news of the Dragon Ball, Frieza immediately asked Dodoria to go to Namek to find the Dragon Ball. But having said that, this time about the Dragon Ball, thanks to that fellow Vegeta who went to that place called Earth. Sabo said suddenly, but the words are full of disdain. That wild monkey who has no strength but is extremely arrogant, gets angry when he thinks about it. If King Frieza didn't allow it, he would have taken care of Vegeta long ago. Well, this time Vegeta did have some credit, but his purpose of looking for Dragon Ball should be the same as mine, wanting to live forever and then betray me. This point, what Vegeta did really disappointed me. Frieza said in a sinister voice. Clenching his fists tightly, Red's pupils were filled with murderous intent. And at this time, in a treatment room on an unknown planet, a familiar figure stood in a healing device filled with green healing liquid. Bare upper body, showing solid muscles, eyes closed, heart-shaped spire, impressively as the 10,000-year-old or Vegeta in Dragon Ball. And in the treatment room, there are 2 weird-looking universe people who are constantly busy. At this moment, Vegeta's eyelids, who had been closing his eyes tightly all the time, trembled slightly. Immediately afterwards, it opened directly. The 2 universe people in the lab watched Vegeta open his eyes, and quickly turned off the healing device. Master Vegeta, you finally woke up. I didn't expect you to be injured so badly. It seems that you have met a strong enemy in this mission. Master Vegeta, your injury has healed, but there is nothing we can do about your tail. The 2 of them still seemed intimidated by the thought of Vegeta. He was trembling while speaking. It doesn't matter, it will grow out by itself in the future. Vegeta said disapprovingly while getting dressed. As King Frieza on this planet. After Vegeta finished dressing, he turned and asked the 2 of them. No, King Frieza just went out 2 days ago. A bird-headed universe man answered. TCH, are you tired of staying on this planet again? Vegeta snorted coldly and said to himself. Also, Mr. Chu Yi said to find him in the training room after you recover. Another universe person continued. Cut, Chu Yi, tell him, lousy Vegeta has no time to waste with him. Vegeta curled his lips and said dismissively. I and that guy have never met each other, how could I listen to him and obediently go to him? The most important thing for me now is to go to the Namek Ball quickly, get the Dragon Ball and make a wish to make myself immortal. In this way, I will definitely find a way to defeat Frieza and replace him as the Emperor of the universe. Let Saiyan's name spread in the universe again. Of course, he must go to the Earth where he was humiliated, and kill them all. Then Vegeta walked out of the treatment room directly. But, Master Vegeta, the 2 people behind wanted to chase, but it was already too late. And not long after Vegeta went out, a guy with purple skin appeared in front of him. Chu Yi, Vegeta frowned, this annoying guy. Yo Vegeta, I heard that you suffered a big defeat this time, even Nappa and Raditz were killed. What kind of god, Saiyan, the invincible fighting nation, is in such a mess? Chu Yi put his hands on his hips and said with a provocative smile. Clearly trying to annoy Vegeta. But he is not afraid, because he and Vegeta both have a combat power of 18,000, and even if they really fight, they will not be able to tell the winner. This is also the capital for him to provoke Vegeta unscrupulously. Go away Chu Yi, I don't have time to talk to you now. After Vegeta frowned, he gave a light reprimand and walked directly past Chu Yi. Wait Vegeta. Chu Yi put his right hand on Vegeta's shoulder, and just as he was about to continue speaking, Vegeta's right elbow fell heavily on Chu Yi's waist. Chu-Yi suddenly shrank his pupils in pain, let go of Vegeta, and hugged his waist with his hands. Take care of your dirty hands next time, or I'll scrap it. Vegeta raised the corner of his mouth and said proudly. After the battle with Son Goku, although he was seriously injured and almost died, his combat effectiveness has improved a lot. The current self is not something that Chu-Yi can stop. Vegeta, you not only acted without authorization, but also dared to hit me, waiting for you King Frieza to come back from the Namek Ball. Before Chu-Yi finished speaking, Vegeta grabbed Chu-Yi's collar and his face changed dramatically. What did you say? Frieza went to Namek. That guy must have heard about the Dragon Ball from his combat power detector. But, Vegeta threw Chu-Yi out, and ran directly to his spaceship of universe. That fool Frieza, actually listening to my detector. Vegeta walked very fast, with an angry face, clenched his fists tightly, and cursed. Frieza and the others obviously had the upper hand at this time, and he must find the Dragon Ball before Frieza and the others, and make a wish for himself to obtain immortality. If Frieza's wish comes true, then he will really be trampled under his feet forever in this life. This is something he will never allow to happen. Then, with a flash of his body, he got into his own universe spaceship and pressed the start button. The spaceship flew out like a fired shell. But, wild monkey, I will never spare you. Chu-Yi looked at the streamer that disappeared into the air, with a ferocious look in his eyes. I must have been too careless just now to suffer from Vegeta. For so many years, he and Vegeta's fighting power has always been evenly matched, and his fighting power is absolutely impossible to surpass his own. Even if I catch up with Namek, I must teach him a good lesson. No, kill him directly. Since Vegeta has betrayed King Frieza will not blame him for killing Vegeta now, and maybe he will reward him. Thinking of this, Chu-Yi quickly found his universe spaceship, and followed Vegeta's spaceship to Namek. On the way, Chu-Yi also told Sabo that Vegeta had defected and went to Namek. King Frieza got the news from Chu-Yi, saying that Vegeta has betrayed, and now he has gone to the Namek Ball. His purpose should also be to go to the Dragon Ball. In space, inside Frieza's giant universe spaceship, Sabo, who received the news from Chu-Yi, said to Frieza. There is a look of gloating in his eyes. HMPH, that kid Vegeta has always been ambitious and doesn't obey my orders very much. It's expected that he will rebel now, but he chose to oppose me at this time, which is really a very unwise choice. Frieza said in a flat tone. Vegeta's betrayal was within his expectations. It's just that with his 18,000 combat power, he can turn him into a speck of dust in this universe with a flick of his finger. It's like Planet Vegeta more than 10 years ago. Afterwards, everyone saw the gloomy cold light frantically surging in Frieza's eyes. Everyone couldn't help shivering. They knew that Frieza was already angry at this time, and Vegeta's end would be very miserable. And at this time on Earth, Lin Yan's universe spaceship has been remodeled. Looking at the huge universe in front of him, Lin Yan secretly clicked his tongue. This is the great power of science. In just 10 days, Dr. Breves turned his little thing that can only accommodate one person into such a colossus. How is it? Are you satisfied? Dr. Breves raised his head, looked at the surprised Lin Yan, and asked with a little satisfaction. Of course, with his ability, he does have the capital to be proud of. For ordinary scientists, there is simply no way to complete this difficult task. Satisfied, very satisfied, thank you very much. Lin Yan nodded like a chick pecking rice, and thanked him. The universe spaceship has been fully remodeled, and the gravity chamber you want has been completed for you, but due to time constraints, the gravity chamber can only reach 200 times the gravity. Dr. Breves explained. It is really not difficult for him to build a gravity chamber with a gravity of 300 times, but 10 days is too urgent. As a result, he could only create a gravity chamber 200 times larger. 200 times is enough. Lin Yan nodded and said. With my current strength, a gravity chamber of 200 times is almost enough. The reason why I said that I need 300 times of gravity is also for future plans. But after returning from the Namek Ball, let Bulma help him upgrade, it's not a big problem. Thanks again Dr. Breves, time is running out, I'll go first. After Lin Yan thanked Drive Breves again, he directly stepped onto the spaceship universe. Because the general operation of the Universe spacecraft has not changed, Lin Yan started the Universe spacecraft with ease, and disappeared into the backyard of Bulma's house. Oh, he's a frizzy boy like Goku. I wanted him to drink a glass of orange juice before leaving. At this time, Bulma's mother came over, holding 2 glasses of orange juice in her hands, looking at Lin Yan who was leaving in the dust, and said in a seductive numb tone. After Lin Yan's Universe spaceship completely disappeared from their sight, they turned around and entered the house. The modified Universe spacecraft is a bit faster than before. In just a few minutes, Lin Yan has left the Earth. It's time to start practicing. After Lin Yan changed the landing location of the Universe spacecraft to Namek, he left the operating room and walked into the gravity room. Then directly adjust the gravity to 100 times. In the original Dragon Ball, Son Goku's combat power of 180,000 with Kaioken turned on can withstand 100 times the force of gravity. My current combat power is far higher than this value, and 100 times the gravity should not be particularly difficult for me. And at the moment when the gravity chamber was activated, Lin Yan's body sank suddenly, and the color in the entire gravity chamber turned dark red. However, 100 times the gravity did not make him feel difficult. Chapter 11. Then, he waved his fists and began to practice. Just a few minutes later, I felt the feeling of strenuous effort, and my forehead was dripping with sweat. But the more this is the case, the more you can challenge your limits and stimulate the hidden potential in your body. In this way, time passed day by day. For Lin Yan who was practicing, the past few days seemed to pass very quickly. But for Bulma, Son Gohan and Kling who are in Namek, every minute is suffering. Because not only do they want to collect Dragon Balls, but they also have to keep their aura down all the time to avoid that evil aura and avoid being discovered by him. This sneaky feeling, like a mouse crossing the street, made them very uncomfortable. At this time, in a relatively secluded cave, Bulma and Son Gohan are sitting in a capsule house. And in the middle of the 3, there is an orange Dragon Ball, the size of a basketball, with 4 red stars inlaid in the middle. All 3 of them had sad expressions on their faces. What should we do now? That evil guy is on this planet, we dare not look for Dragon Ball blatantly. Son Gohan was a little discouraged, and said with a drooping face. It took 2 days of hard work to find a 4-star planet, and even if they found all the other 3 Dragon Balls, they couldn't get the other 4 Dragon Balls in the hands of that evil guy. In this case, their wishes will not come true. How about we take this 4-ball back to Earth first? After all, wait for Goku to recover from his injuries, and then grab the remaining Dragon Balls from that guy's hand. After thinking for a long time, Klin spoke. Although this method seems to him to be very cowardly and timid, but judging from the current situation, this is the best way. If they still stay on this planet, they might not only not get other Dragon Balls, but even their lives cannot be guaranteed. Son Gohan looked at Keelan, although he really wanted to quickly find all the Dragon Balls and revive Piccolo Uncle, but based on rational analysis, what Keelan Uncle said was correct. When the 3 of them can't do anything else at all now, maybe the only 4-star planet will be taken away by others. Hey Keelan, let me tell you why you are so greedy for life and afraid of death as a big man. Now that you have come here, it would be too embarrassing to go back like this. Hearing Kling's suggestion, Bulma reprimanded angrily. I just think that face is more important than life. Klein muttered softly. I am really afraid of being killed. After all, I have already died once. If I die again, I can't even revive the Dragon Ball. Bulma aunt, Kling uncle is right, we will only put ourselves in danger if we stay here now. Son Gohan also opened his mouth to explain. Although very unwilling. Bulma frowned slightly, and she knew the current situation in her heart, but it was too embarrassing to go back in such disgrace. After a few people hesitated for half an hour, they finally decided to go back to Earth first and make a long-term plan. After Son Goku recovers, Namek the ball again. Then the 3 walked out of the cave, and Bulma reluctantly took the Universe spaceship out of the capsule. And just when they were about to take the Universe spacecraft back to Earth, suddenly a powerful breath came from the distant sky. And that breath is very familiar. Yes, it is Vegeta, that guy has come to Namek too. Keelan spoke in horror, and subconsciously stepped back. The same was true for Son Gohan, his pupils shrank tightly. They were all too familiar with Vegeta's aura, and he could feel that Vegeta's aura at this time was stronger than when he was on Earth. Vegeta, why did he come to this planet too? When Bulma heard the name Vegeta, his face turned pale as if he had been greatly frightened. The scene where that guy killed Piccolo and Tien Shinhan and others on Earth is still vivid. Thinking of this, the bodies of the three began to tremble uncontrollably. If Vegeta knew they were here, he would definitely kill them. Earth's Dragon Ball disappeared after Piccolo was killed, and Vegeta must have come for Namek's Dragon Ball, and now there is another Vegeta. Keelan said with an incomparably dignified expression. The evil aura before, plus a Vegeta, any one of them has the strength to kill them instantly. Come on, quickly hide in. Sensing that Vegeta's breath was getting closer, Klin quickly pulled Son Gohan and Bulma up and hid in the cave. Boom, and just after the three of them hid in, Vegeta's universe spaceship directly hit the ground not far from the cave, smashing the ground into a deep pit. Then Vegeta came out of the pit. It's over, our universe spaceship hasn't been put away yet. Bulma looked at the universe spaceship in front of the cave and murmured. Now, they will definitely be discovered by that guy. That's Saiyan's universe ship. The moment Vegeta stepped out of the deep pit, he saw the universe spaceship. Although it has been remodeled and its size has grown a lot, it was still recognized by Vegeta at a glance. Then step by step towards the universe spaceship. Vegeta's low footsteps, every step seemed to step on the hearts of Keelan and Son Gohan, making their hearts beating nervously. When Vegeta walked up to the universe spaceship, a cold smile suddenly appeared on the corner of his mouth. Is that so? Get out. Then Vegeta turned around and shouted directly into the cave. Because at that moment just now, he felt two faint auras. Even though those two auras are trying their best to hide it, it is impossible to completely hide one's aura at such a close distance. Since returning from the Earth, he has also learned the method of sensing chi like the people on Earth, so now he doesn't need a combat power detector at all. What? Vegeta found us. Hearing Vegeta's voice, Keelan's face turned ashen for an instant, and it was really going to be over. That fellow Vegeta had suffered so much humiliation on Earth, and with his brutal character, he would never bypass the three of them. After hesitating for half a minute, Son Gohan and Keelan had no choice but to bite the bullet and walk out. At worst they would fight him. Oh, so it's the two of you. Vegeta looked at Son Gohan and Keelan who came out of the cave, with a ferocious smile on his face. Especially when I saw Son Gohan, I thought of Kakarot, that low-level Saiyan that people hate to the bone. After the faint voice fell, Vegeta's body flashed out, and then slammed into the lower abdomen of Keelan and Son Gohan. Puff! The two spit out a mouthful of sour water almost at the same time, and fell to their knees directly on the ground, their bodies arched into a boiled prawn, with painful expressions on their faces. Vegeta didn't kill them because he knew that Frieza and the others were already approaching the Namek Ball, and it would be useful to keep these two little devils. Although the two brats in front of me have mediocre fighting power, their mosquito legs are meat. If they want to get the Dragon Ball, maybe they can help me. You two, you must obey my orders from now on, otherwise I will break your necks immediately. Vegeta threatened the two with a cold voice. He knew that the two of them came to Namek to find the Dragon Ball as well. It's just that that thing will only belong to him Vegeta in the end. Keelan and Son Gohan looked at each other, then nodded tacitly. Now that they have been discovered by Vegeta, they have no choice. If they reject him now, they may really be killed by him. And it will expose Bulma's whereabouts. Now he can only pretend to surrender, follow Vegeta, and then think of a way. It's better to drag Goku or Lin Yan. The strength of the two of them should be able to beat Vegeta and Namek's other tough guy. In order to prevent you from making small moves, there is no need for this thing to exist. Vegeta smiled evilly, then turned around and slammed directly at the universe spaceship of Son Gohan and the others. Boom! The moment Ki Blast hit the universe spaceship, more than half of the universe spaceship was blown away. Keelan and Son Gohan gritted their teeth tightly. There is really no way. That guy Chuyi is coming soon. The most important thing now is to collect all the Dragon Balls before Frieza reaches Namek, and we can't get entangled with that trash Chuyi. Thinking of this, Vegeta said directly to Keelan and Son Gohan, "You two, come with me." Then, the three of them disappeared in front of the cave. But Bulma, who was still in the cave, was already frightened out of his wits, and his face was pale. Gohan and Kling were taken away, and the universe spacecraft was destroyed by that fool. Thinking of this, Bulma felt a little terrified. How should I go back? After another half day, Frieza and his team finally arrived at the Namek Ball. After learning that Vegeta had arrived in Namek, Frieza did not hesitate to let the 5 members of the Ginyu Special Forces also rush to Namek. It's not because Vegeta is difficult to deal with, but because the members of the Ginyu Special Forces are equipped with the most advanced combat power detectors, and their detectors can know the whereabouts of Dragon Ball. He doesn't want to capsize the boat in the gutter and let that wild monkey Vegeta pick up the leak. In this way, Vegeta took Krillin and Son Gohan to deal with Frieza and others. 5 days passed without knowing it. At this time, in space, a universe spaceship gallops past. Lin Yan, who is riding on the universe spaceship, is currently cultivating hard in the 200 times the universe spaceship. Chi Yuan / Kamehameha Wave, Supreme Kai. 10 times. After Son Goku practiced the Krillin, he copied and Son Goku's trick again. Taking a deep breath, he walked towards the door of the gravity room step by step. The steps are light, and it doesn't seem to be too constrained by the 200 times the gravity. There are still 2 hours, Bulma, you have to hold on. Lin Yan looked at the time on the display in the control room. It's about an hour to Namek. I don't know if Bulma and the others have encountered any danger. Have Frieza and Vegeta arrived in Namek already? In the next hour, Lin Yan took a shower and changed into clean clothes by the way. Is it finally here? Lin Yan looked at the emerald green planet from the window of the spaceship universe, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, outlining an arc of excitement. Goldo's time pause ability and dense healing technique are really getting closer to me. 5 minutes later, boom, a huge roar sounded, and Lin Yan's universe spaceship directly smashed a big hole in the ground. And not a gentle landing like Bulma. At this moment, in a house in Namek, a huge old man of Namek was sitting weakly on a throne. Here comes another one, is the end of Namek coming soon? The old man's tone was very weak, his eyes were drooping, and it seemed that it was very difficult to open them. He could feel a huge aura appearing on the Namek Ball again, and that aura was very similar to the demon that had killed many of his own people before. Don't worry, Great Elder, I will definitely protect your safety. In front of the Great Elder, a young Namek who looked exactly like Piccolo said to the Great Elder with a firm tone. And beside the young Namek, stood a little green, with the same worry on his face, rubbing his hands together. At this time, Lin Yan had already stepped out of the universe spaceship. Where did it land? Lin Yan looked around and asked in doubt. Although Namek has only 100 inhabitants, the planet is quite large. It is not easy to find Bulma and the others. Unless there is a fierce battle on this planet, then I can rely on Chi to find them. After thinking about it, Lin Yan used the flying technique to slowly float his body in midair. Only by standing high can he see far away. Sure enough, just after Lin Yan stayed in the air and scanned around, he saw a building that looked like a few huge silkworm chrysalis on top of a huge peak. That thing should be the house of the Namek people. After thinking about it, Lin Yan made a flash and jumped towards the house. In just 10 seconds, Lin Yan has already appeared on Ju Feng. However, he was blocked by a Namek. Lin Yan is quite familiar with this person. Niru. Lin Yan cried out in surprise. The guy in front of him is the last fighting Namek of the Namek Ball, Naru, the guardian of the Great Elder. Now that Naru appears here, it means, the Great Elder of Namek is very likely to be in the house in front of him. Hearing the stranger in front of him call out his name, Nailu was obviously startled, but then his face became more serious. Keep your eyes on Lin Yan. Get out of the way, I want to see your Great Elder. Lin Yan straight to the point and said bluntly. Since we landed here directly, it would be a bit unreasonable not to meet the Great Elder. But who are you? If you dare to take half a step forward, I will kill you. Neil also responded to Lin Yan in a cold tone. His job is to protect the Great Elder, and he will never let anyone with malicious intentions disturb the Great Elder, unless he is killed. Just relying on your 40,000 point combat power to kill me, I'm afraid you take yourself too seriously. Lin Yan said disdainfully. If he really wanted to kill Neil, it would be almost an instant. Let him come in, Nuru. Suddenly, a weak voice accompanied by a cough came from the room. After Neil frowned, he turned sideways and got out of the way. Lin Yan just walked in. Take the liberty to disturb, and I hope the elder will not be offended. Looking at the great elder in front of him with weak breath, Lin Yan cupped his hands and spoke in a gentlemanly manner. It's okay, you're here for the Dragon Ball too. The great elder asked directly. Because the guy before, all came for Dragon Ball. Say yes, say no and no. Lin Yan replied ambiguously. In fact, the purpose of his coming here is mainly to copy the skills of Dend and Goldo, and to ensure the safety of Bulma. As for the Dragon Ball, I really don't have much interest now, because I can copy other people's skills. Thinking about it, I don't have any wishes for Shenron to realize. However, I still have one thing, please help the great elder. Lin Yan suddenly had an idea and said, say it. The great elder nodded. It seemed that it was extremely strenuous for him to say one more word. Trouble the great elder to stimulate my potential for me. Lin Yan said without hesitation that in the Dragon Ball, after Klin and Son Gohan were exploited by the great elder in front of them, their combat power went from a mere 1,000 to more than 10,000. Tenfold growth. Since you opened it yourself, why not try it? See what kind of level you can reach after developing your potential. After a little hesitation, the great elder waved to Lin Yan and said, then come here. Hearing the great elder's words, Lin Yan walked up to the great elder. The great elder's hand directly placed on top of Lin Yan's head, and in an instant a white halo enveloped Lin Yan's whole body. Lin Yan suddenly felt a very powerful force surging in his body crazily. The whole body is full of strength. At the same moment, a line of small words, blue, appeared on his retina. Reproducible skills. Potential stimulation, whether to replicate. Lin Yan was surprised. What a surprise. I chose without hesitation. The great elder coughed violently again, and the hand on Lin Yan's head was directly bounced away by a terrifying force. Swipe. At this time, Lin Yan was surrounded by a raging white arrogance. He could feel his aura at this moment, which had increased a lot compared to before. If calculated according to combat power, his current combat power has completely broken through 3 million or even higher. As for what level he has reached, he is currently not sure how much it is. The great elder. Seeing the great elder who was coughing violently, Nailu and the little guy next to him hurried forward worriedly to check the situation of the great elder. I'm fine. The elder took a few heavy breaths, and then slowly closed his eyes. It seems that helping Son Goku develop his potential just now also consumed a lot of his physical energy. Are you Dend? Suddenly, Lin Yan looked at the little one in green and asked. Dend was startled at first, then turned around and nodded dully. How did this stranger know his name? I'm Gohan and Kling's companion, do you know where they are now? With a sincere smile on his face, Lin Yan walked up to Dend, put his right hand on the top of Dend's head, rubbed Dend's head, and asked. And the moment Lin Yan came into contact with Dend, the illusory image on the retina reappeared. There is a small line of blue on it. Copyable skills. Healing. Whether to copy. Copy. Without any hesitation, Lin Yan said in the affirmative. The purpose of my coming here, copying Dend's healing technique is one of the important ones, how can I miss it? Successfully copied. Copied skill. Healing. Then, a line of small characters appeared on the retina again, easy and concise. You are the companions of Krillin and Gohan. That's great. After hearing Lin Yan's words, the vigilance on Dend's face disappeared in an instant. If it was Krillin and Gohan's friends, it would definitely not be a bad person. They flew away in that direction just now. Just now I heard another demon who killed a lot of Namek said, it seems that some powerful guys called Ginyu came to Namek. After that, the demon took Krillin and Gohan away already. Dend pointed to a direction to the south, and said with some concern. It seems that the demon Dend is talking about is Vegeta, so the Ginyu special forces have come to the Namek Ball. Well, thank you Dend. Lin Yan waved his hand to Dend, and after saying something to the elder, his body flickered, and he flew directly in the direction Dend pointed. The speed was very fast, and it disappeared from everyone's sight almost in an instant. At this time, in a barren and inhabited valley in Namek, there were 7 figures. One of them was already lying on the ground. Look carefully, the one lying on the ground is Vegeta, the spire is very eye-catching. And a burly man with an orange punk head stepped on Vegeta's head with his right foot. This person is Lickum of the Ginyu Special Forces. And not far from the two of them, I saw Keelan and Son Gohan, both of whom were also covered in scars. At this time, they seemed to be imprisoned in midair, motionless. And under the two, there is also a dwarf who looks exactly like a frog, has green skin, and has 6 eyes. With both palms aimed at Son Gohan and Kling, he took a deep breath. There were also 2 other figures floating in midair, with their arms folded around their chests, and they looked like they were watching a play leisurely. I feel their anger. At this time, Lin Yan, who was flying at a high speed, suddenly felt the 7 auras. One of them is very faint, and the other 2 are very familiar, obviously belonging to Kling and Gohan. Brush. When the slight sound of breaking through the air sounded, Lin Yan's body disappeared into the air again. Hey, Lickum, don't play anymore, kill them quickly, so we can go back to King Frieza. Just like him, who was floating in midair, said. After all, it's too boring to clean up this kind of garbage. Lickum nodded. Although he hasn't played enough, he has completely lost interest in Vegeta. Then he flashed straight away. Seeing the 2 brats attacking Goldo in midair, he punched them with bowl-sized fists. What? It's over. Keelan looked at Coolam who had appeared next to him and Gohan almost instantly, and screamed. This guy even picked up Vegeta casually, that punch will definitely kill them. Boom, boom, 2 deep voices sounded, and Keelan and Son Gohan subconsciously closed their eyes and frowned, as if they were waiting for the call of death. 1 breath, 2 sucks, 3 sucks. After 3 inhalations, they didn't feel any pain. Instead, a familiar breath appeared in their minds. Then the 2 opened their eyes in surprise. Just saw the fluffy tail. Lin Yan. Both Keelan and Son Gohan cried out excitedly. Who are you? Lickum looked at the guy blocking his fist in front of him, and asked in a cold voice. How dare you stop yourself from killing someone, you are simply asking for your own death. A dead person is not entitled to know my name. When Lin Yan's faint voice fell, he withdrew his fist and punched Lickum's chest again. The speed was so fast that Lickum had no chance to react. Afterwards, Lin Yan's fist directly sank into Lickum's mouth, and streaks of blue light shot out from Kulin's mouth. Burst. The next moment, it exploded directly. What? Keelan and Son Gohan screamed in horror, shrinking back uncontrollably. What just happened? Lin Yan appeared in an instant, instantly killing Lickum without giving him any chance to react. But Lickum's combat strength was as high as 40,000, and even Vegeta was played like a child in front of him. He was instantly killed by Lin Yan just like that. Is this too strong? Shock, unparalleled shock. Of course, not just Krillin and Son Goku, but Keith, Bart, and Goldo. They all have shocked expressions on their faces, as if they haven't fully realized what happened just now. Cullum, killed by. After 5 full seconds, Geese and Bart reacted and spoke in a blunt tone. Although Lickum's combat power is weaker than the 2 of them, he still has a combat power of 40,000. Even if the Saiyan sneak attack, it is absolutely impossible to kill Lickum in an instant. Then, that guy, who is it? And Vegeta, who had been lying on the ground dying, also struggled to stand up again. Looking at Lin Yan in disbelief, especially the tail wrapped around his waist. That is the symbol of Saiyan. No. Impossible. After the death of Nappa and Raditz, Saiyan is obviously left alone. Kakarot and his half-breed kid, how could there be other Saiyans? Absolutely impossible. Vegeta shook his head and muttered dully. Look at that guy's fighting power. Keith suddenly spoke. Then Bart quickly pressed the combat power detector next to his ear. 5,000, how come there is only 5,000 combat power? It's impossible, how could 5,000 combat power kill Lickum in an instant? Bart shook his head and said. But that guy clearly shows only 5,000 combat power, and his combat power detector is the latest model, there is absolutely no chance of mistakes. Hearing Bart's muttering, Geese also pressed his combat power detector. 5,000, also 5,000, what's going on? At this moment, the 2 were puzzled. How could a combat power of 5,000 instantly kill Lickum, who had a combat power of 40,000? That guy must have used some means, or a way to suddenly increase his combat power. Fortunately, we caught up. Lin Yan, on the other hand, completely ignored everyone's horrified gazes and looked at Goldo on the ground. The guy hasn't been killed by Vegeta yet, that's great. I was afraid that I was late just now, so I was at a disadvantage this trip. The moment Goldo was pushed on top by Lin Yan, he instantly felt that he was enveloped by a breath of death, and his body retreated subconsciously. At this time, Lin Yan didn't hesitate at all, and his body disappeared out of everyone's sight. When it appeared, it was already behind Goldo. The palm was directly attached to the back of Goldo's head. At the same time, a line of small words, blue, appeared on Lin Yan's retina again. Copyable skills. Time pause, whether to copy. Copy. Lin Yan affirmed directly in his heart. Copied skill. Time pause. Then, the small words, blue, appeared again, indicating that Lin Yan had copied Goldo's time pause ability. Your mission is complete, go to hell. When Lin Yan's indifferent voice fell, a ki blast blasted out from the palm of his hand. And Goldo didn't even let out a scream, he was directly swallowed by ki blast. After everything returned to normal, there was only a deep abyss left in place, and Goldo had disappeared. In an instant, 2 members of the Ginyu Special Forces were eliminated. How? How is it possible? That guy's combat power has soared to 50,000 just now. Geese looked at Lin Yan in disbelief. The moment Lin Yan killed Goldo, his combat power soared to 50,000 points. Could this be his true fighting power? No wonder Lickum was able to kill Lickum in an instant in a sneak attack. Bart, let's deal with that guy together. Keith frowned and spoke. The fighting power of 50,000 has completely caught up with the fighting power of the 2 of them. In order not to cause unnecessary complications, they should attack at the same time now, and kill the Saiyan in front of them as quickly as possible. Although Bart was a little bit unkind, he still nodded. This guy killed 2 members of their Ginyu Special Forces at once. Although Lickum and Goldo died, I didn't feel sad at all. But they've worked so hard for months to pull off the perfect pose, just ruined by a Saiyan. For that alone, there is absolutely no forgiveness for this Saiyan. Afterwards, the 2 looked at each other and nodded, and their bodies were shot out like an arrow off the string. Seeing the bodies of Geese and Bart flashing towards them, Son Gohan and Keelan shrank back subconsciously. Those 2 guys have a combat power of more than 50,000, which is a lot more than them. If they fight, they will be affected if they are too close. Lin Yan looked at Geese and Bart who were approaching in a flash, and a wicked smile suddenly appeared on the corner of his mouth. Let him try it out. What kind of effect does Goldo's time pause ability have? Time pauses. Suddenly, both hands were aimed at Geese and Bart, and a deep cry came out of Lin Yan's mouth, and then he held his breath. And just when he called out the 4 words time pause, the whole space turned red, and time suddenly stopped. Geese and Bart rushed towards Lin Yan's body, just like that in a forward posture, motionless, still in midair. And the shocked expressions on the faces of Keelan and Son Gohan suddenly froze. Lin Yan glanced around. Within a dozen feet of Fang Yuan, time really stopped at this moment. Chi Yuan slash. With a cry in Lin Yan's heart, he raised his palms high, and 2 gold round wheels appeared in Lin Yan's palms, spinning at high speed. Then, he directly slashed at Geese and Bart. Bark. 2 crisp sounds sounded almost simultaneously. Call. Immediately afterwards, Lin Yan held the breath for a long time, and finally exhaled. When Lin Yan started to breathe, everything returned to normal again. Son Gohan and Keelan looked at each other, always feeling that the feeling just now was very familiar. Boom, boom. At the same time as the 2 deep voices sounded, the bodies of Geese and Bart fell directly to the ground. Then the body became 2 halves, and the incision was abnormally smooth. His eyes were round, as if he had been terrified, but he was already dead. What happened to the 2 of them? Keelan and Son Gohan were stunned. What happened just now? They didn't even know what happened. The bodies of Geese and Bart appeared in front of them. This is too incredible. Hoo. Lin Yan gasped for 2 big breaths, feeling that his physical energy consumption was quite huge. It seems that although the ability to pause time is very abnormal, it also consumes a lot of physical energy. This is something he didn't know before. It seems that this ability can only be used as a last resort in the future, if the time is stopped but there is no way to deal with the enemy. The consumption of physical energy will make him fall into a very passive situation. But that guy actually learned Goldo's ability to pause time. And Vegeta at the side, looking at Lin Yan, gritted his teeth and said in a low voice. Because he had been in contact with Goldo before, had a lot of festivals, and had a little understanding of Goldo's time-suspended energy. The guy just now must have used the time pause ability to kill geese without all of them noticing, Bart. But how the hell did he learn that idiot Goldo's time stopping? Vegeta is puzzled. After Lin Yan took 2 deep breaths, he walked towards Son Gohan and Keelan. Then they directly grabbed the wrists of the two, and the bodies of Keelan and Son Gohan were directly covered with a light green halo. What are you doing? Klin frowned and asked, wondering what Lin Yan was doing grabbing the two of them. But after a short while, he suddenly felt that his physical strength was recovering little by little, the pain on his body was also weakening little by little, and the wound gradually began to heal. This guy, who the hell is he? Not only is he powerful, but he also has superpowers of healing. Both Kling and Son Gohan thought in shock. It would be a real misfortune if Lin Yan were their enemy. After only half a minute, Lin Yan released the wrists of both Son Gohan and Keelan. The two of them moved their bodies, the pain completely disappeared, the wounds healed, and their physical fitness returned to its peak state. Thank you. Keelan expressed his thanks a little excitedly. In fact, it was really dangerous just now. If Lin Yan hadn't appeared at the critical moment, he, Gohan and Vegeta would have been killed long ago. Thank you Lin Yan uncle. Son Gohan is also very well behaved, thank you excitedly. Lin Yan waved his hand, walked towards Vegeta, and then directly put one hand on Vegeta's back. A steady stream of energy was directly input into Vegeta's body, and Vegeta fully recovered after a while. Cut, annoying guy, I won't thank you. After Vegeta glanced at Lin Yan coldly, his body flickered and flew directly to other directions. Well, without you in Dragon Ball, there will be much less joy. Lin Yan looked at the direction in which Vegeta disappeared, and murmured. Gith and Bart were all killed. At this moment, Ginyu, who had just taken the Dragon Ball from Vegeta and others, had a very ugly expression on his face, and said through gritted teeth. Because their combat power detectors have the function of eavesdropping when they are turned on, and at this time the life characteristics of the 4 of them have completely disappeared. No matter who you are, I will definitely cut you to pieces. Lin Yan was not in a hurry to leave after easily killing the 4 members of the Ginyu Special Forces. Instead, he stood there, as if waiting for something. On the other hand, Klin and Son Gohan stomped their feet anxiously. Just now Lin Yan killed 4 members of the Ginyu Special Forces in an instant by some means. But if you don't hurry to leave now, I'm afraid Ginyu will be summoned, and even Frieza, who is too powerful to predict. When the time comes, I want to leave again, but it will not be so easy. 2 minutes later, Keelan finally couldn't bear it any longer, and said, Mr. Lin Yan, why don't we leave here first? Otherwise, it won't be so easy for Ginyu and the others to leave after a while. Quote. Klin's worries were not unreasonable. After all, half a month ago, Lin Yan's combat strength was only over 2,000. Even if it is soaring now, it can kill Geese and Bart and others, but Ginyu, the captain of Ginyu's special forces, can feel that it is definitely not comparable to Geese and others. Strong enough to make one's heart tremble. Ginyu, I'm waiting for him. Lin Yan didn't look back, but looked ahead and said with a sneer. Now that 4 members of Ginyu's special forces have been killed, let's send Ginyu to hell by the way. Otherwise their formation would not be perfect. It's just that I don't want to find him for a Ginyuman Namek, so I just wait here for him. At this time, Lin Yan's aura was released. If calculated according to the combat power, it should be 50,000 combat power. This level of fighting power is enough to attract Ginyu to come. Sure enough, only 10 minutes later, Lin Yan felt a strong aura. Brush. Almost instantly, a white light group appeared in front of Lin Yan and Keelan. Then that layer of white light disappeared, revealing the original appearance of the visitor. Purple skin, 2 black sharp horns on both sides of the head. Wearing a universe suit. It's finally here. Ginyu. Lin Yan pursed his lips, slowly raised his head, and looked at the purple figure that suddenly appeared in midair. The captain of Ginyu's special forces. Ginyu. Keelan and Sun Gohan looked at Ginyu with horrified faces, and leaned against Lin Yan's back inadvertently. The moment Ginyu appeared, his eyes swept around, and he saw the bodies of Geese, Bart and Kulam lying on the ground. He clenched his fists tightly, his eyes shone with coldness, as cold as ice. In this universe, someone actually dared to be an enemy of their Ginyu special forces, and even killed 4 of their members. Shame, this is a great shame. Absolutely, absolutely unforgivable. Then he looked at Lin Yan with a look of overwhelming anger. You did it. Ginyu's cold voice almost chilled the temperature of the entire space. What do you say? Lin Yan looked relaxed, shrugged and asked back, the answer is already very obvious. The Ginyu in front of him has only a combat strength of 120,000. In front of him, he is at best a jumping and cheerful grasshopper. It is very easy to kill him by strangling him. 50,000 combat power. It really surprised me that I was able to kill Geese and Bart, but you have completely angered me. If you don't destroy your village today, it will be hard to vent your anger. Ginyu gritted his teeth, and the words popped out from between his teeth. In fact, garbage like Geese doesn't care if he dies, but now that he has designed such a good team shape, it will be in vain. And if this matter spreads in the future, it will be a great shame and humiliation to him. And this kind of humiliation can only be washed away with the blood of the idiot in front of him. Really, I'm afraid you don't have that ability. Lin Yan said with a look of disdain. A mere 50,000 combat power, dare to speak so brazenly, bear my wrath. Wild monkey. Ginyu let out a roar, and his body flew towards Lin Yan like lightning. The fist as big as a sandbag hit Lin Yan directly. Boom. It's just that the next moment, Lin Yan easily caught his hard-hitting fist. It looked extremely relaxed, because Lin Yan's feet didn't take half a step back, and stood there calmly. Is this your anger? It's too weak. Let me show you my anger. Lin Yan smiled coldly, with a wicked sneer on the corner of his mouth. Aha! Afterwards, a roar came from Lin Yan's throat, and in an instant, a burst of White's arrogance burst out directly from Lin Yan's body. The terrifying breath directly sent Keelan and Sun Gohan flying. Drip, drop, drop. At this moment, the combat power detector in front of Ginyu began to make a rapid mechanical sound. I saw the numbers on the combat power detector start to soar. 100,000, 120,000, 150,000, 180,000. Burst. When the number on the combat power detector showed 180,000, the combat power detector exploded directly. And Lin Yan's aura is still rising. No. Impossible. Ginyu spoke in a daze, shocked, terrified, and unbelievable. All kinds of expressions intertwined and surged in his eyes. Feel it, this is my anger, Ginyu. Lin Yan's eyes turned cold suddenly, and he yelled at Ginyu. Then I saw the hand blocking Ginyu's fist squeezed, and then pulled back. Ginyu's body was pulled back directly. Then his right knee hit Ginyu's lower abdomen heavily. Puff. Immediately, a mouthful of old purple blood spat out from Ginyu's mouth, his pupils contracted continuously because of the heart-piercing pain, and his body was trembling while holding his stomach with his hands. He never thought that this guy's fighting power would become so high suddenly, and he suffered such a serious injury with just one knee. Boom. The next moment, Lin Yan directly hit Ginyu's neck with an elbow, and Ginyu's body was immediately embedded in the ground. The overwhelming pain made him feel like he was going to die at any moment. Let's go. After 2 easy attacks that seriously injured Ginyu, Lin Yan then spoke to Keelan and Sun Gohan, who were in a state of stupor. Aha! The two nodded in confusion. How could they have never imagined that Ginyu, whose fighting power was so high that Vegeta's expression changed and made them tremble, would be dealt with by 2 ordinary punches like this? Lin Yan, that Saiyan, to what extent has his strength been raised? Whoosh! Then the 3 of them jumped and flew away. Seeing Lin Yan and others leave, although Ginyu endured the overwhelming pain, he was grateful in his heart that his life was saved. The combat power of that guy just now completely surpassed that of number 18, and might even reach the strength of King Frieza. He wanted to kill himself, it was too simple. And just when Ginyu was still rejoicing that he was not directly killed, a terrifying blue energy ball suddenly flew through the air, very fast. Rumbling. Before Ginyu recovered, the energy ball exploded instantly. After the smoke dissipated, a dark pit appeared on the ground, and Ginyu was completely gone. In midair, Keelan looked at the huge mushroom cloud behind him in horror, and quickly swallowed his saliva. This guy Lin Yan not only has super strength, but also has Saiyan's decisive and violent personality. If it was Goku just now, Ginyu has lost his combat power, so he would never kill him. Mr. Lin Yan, where are we going next? Keelan swallowed again and asked. In the tone, extremely odd. First, Lin Yan's strength is really too strong, so strong that he fears. Second, he just saved his life and Gohan's life, so he is their savior. In terms of emotion and reason, I should have an attitude of awe towards him. Go to Bulma, don't know if she's hurt. Lin Yan spoke in a calm tone. Although Namek is not dangerous, Frieza and his ants will definitely search the entire Namek for the Dragon Ball. If Bulma is found, it will be a little troublesome. Well, we know where Bulma is. Keelan nodded. Lin Yan thought the same as himself. Although he has been following Vegeta for 5 days, he is also very worried about Bulma. After all, she is a weak woman. If she meets Frieza's subordinates, she has no ability to resist at all. Then the three of them directly turned into 3 white light spots and disappeared into the air. And Bulma stayed in that cave for 5 days. In the first 2 days, some of Frieza's men almost found her, scaring her out of her wits. At this time, it became a bird of fright. Brush. With the sound of breaking through the air, the bodies of Lin Yan and Keelan landed in front of the cave. Bulma Ant is inside. Son Gohan pointed to the cave and said excitedly to Lin Yan. Lin Yan nodded. He could feel a faint breath. It should be Bulma. Bulma's aura is too weak, so even I can only feel her aura from this distance. Then the 3 of them walked in. It was dark inside the cave, and the footsteps of the 3 of them sounded very clear. And at the next moment, a sharp voice suddenly called out. Ah! Accompanied by that terrified scream, a black figure rushed out, waving a wooden stick in its hand, and threw it at Lin Yan. Bulma, it's me. Lin Yan grabbed the stick, saw Bulma's face clearly, and said quickly. At this time, Bulma finally saw Lin Yan and Keelan clearly. The whole person was stunned, and a group of tears of grievance suddenly overflowed uncontrollably like a flood that burst a bank. The delicate and pitiful appearance is lovable. It's okay Bulma. Lin Yan directly took Bulma into his arms, patted her on the back, and comforted her softly. Wow! You actually left me here alone. Do you know how I spent these 5 days? Bulma rested on Lin Yan's shoulder, crying pear blossoms with rain, crying about the sadness of the past 5 days. It seems that I want to pour out all the grievances. After a full 10 minutes, Bulma's roar of the rainstorm finally turned into a soft sob. At this time, the 4 people walked out of the cave. Bulma hastily wiped away tears, trying to look as untroubled as possible. When he saw Lin Yan's shoulders that were almost wet with his own tears, he lowered his head a little bit shyly. Lin Yan looked at the slightly shy Bulma, and it seemed that the Bulma in front of him was slightly different from the carefree character in the original Dragon Ball. Are you all right? Lin Yan put his hand on Bulma's shoulder and asked softly. The tone is as gentlemanly as possible, gentle. No. It's okay. Bulma raised his head, looking at the handsome face so close to him, he suddenly lost his mind again. Then he shook his head dully, as if he had completely forgotten the fear just now. Ha, you were really embarrassing just now, Bulma, you actually woo. At this time, Keelan saw that Bulma's frightened mood had calmed down a little, so he imitated Bulma's cry just now and mocked. Keelan, try to learn again. Bulma looked at Klin, the coquettish look disappeared immediately, and angry flames spewed out of his charming eyes and scolded. This little bald head, it's okay to leave her a real lady in such a ghostly place, but now she dares to make fun of herself. I'm sorry, I couldn't hold back just now. Seeing that Bulma was angry, Keelan quickly held back a smile and said. At this time, Lin Yan said to the 3 of them, I'm going to find Frieza next, and the 2 of you take Bulma to hide from the Elder first. Keelan and Son Gohan both know where the Great Elder lives, and Bulma stays there first, which is currently the safest place. Is that guy Frieza really strong? How much better than Ginyu? Hearing Lin Yan's serious tone, Keelan also asked seriously. From the mouths of Vegeta and Ginyu, it can be known that Frieza should be a very strong guy. It's just that as for how strong it is, he doesn't have a clear concept. Lin Yan looked at Keelan amusedly, thought for a while and said, in terms of combat power, Ginyu has a combat power of 120,000, while Frieza has 120 million. Of course, this is Frieza's ultimate form. What? 120 million. How is that possible? Hearing that appalling number, Keelan and the others were stunned instantly. Ginyu is so strong, only 120,000, and that Frieza has a combat power of 120 million. That would be as strong as 1,000 Ginyus. In this universe, how could there be such a guy? For Keelan and others, this is simply unimaginable. The two tried their best to calm down their terrified mood. A mere Vegeta with a fighting power of only 18,000 almost destroyed the entire Earth, and Frieza with a fighting power of 120 million, what kind of terrifying existence will it be? Then, so what is your current combat power? Are you sure you can beat Frieza? At this time, Bulma came back to his senses, looked at Lin Yan with some worry, and asked. To be honest, no, because my current combat power is only a little over 5 million. Lin Yan shook his head, smiled and said, when I was in the spiritual time room for a year and a half, I already had 3 million fighting power, but it seemed that I had encountered a bottleneck and it was difficult to increase. In the next 6 months, he was almost training some moves and physical strength. And the training in the gravity chamber of the spaceship is actually just training one's own physique, and the combat power has not improved much at all. It's just that the potential of the Great Elder Namek has been stimulated, but his combat effectiveness has almost doubled. 5 million, although it sounds like an astronomical figure. But compared with 120 million, it feels a bit insignificant. Then you went to find him, didn't you go to die? Bulma said worriedly. She didn't know why she was worried about this guy who had only met a few times. It is indeed dangerous, but danger and opportunity coexist. Lin Yan continued to speak. Although my combat power is only more than 5 million, but that's just normal. If you use Kaioken 20 times, your combat power will increase to about 110 million. Even if you can't beat Frieza by then, you won't lose easily. And with my current physique, I can definitely withstand 20 times the load brought by Kaioken for a long time. Besides, this time, I mainly want to use the superpower of Frieza to let myself break through the limit and become Super Saiyan. In this way, his road to become a strong man can be regarded as the real beginning. In this case, we really can't help much, then we will wait for your good news with the Great Elder. Keelan said tremblingly. Although the tone was full of fear, it was also true that they only had a fighting power of more than 10,000 at most. Compared with 5 million and 120 million, two are just a drop in the bucket. He doesn't even have the qualifications to put a gap in someone's teeth, so following along might just add to the chaos. Looking at Keelan who was sweating profusely, Lin Yan nodded. They went, it was really useless, but would only get in the way. Keelan and Son Gohan finally took Bulma to the Grand Elder. And Lin Yan also began to feel the breath of Frieza and others. It's just that at this time, that guy Vegeta went to find Frieza before Lin Yan. After being healed by Lin Yan, Vegeta felt strength in his body. Since he was wounded by Sabo and healed in Frieza's universe spaceship, his combat strength has reached 35,000. And after Lin Yan healed the serious injury this time, he actually felt his fighting power soaring, and his body was full of strength. That force definitely has a fighting power of more than 120,000 to 30,000. This also made him very confident to go to Frieza to single out. In front of Frieza's universe ship, Vegeta stands with his arms akimbo. Hey Frieza, get out of here, I'm going to teach you a good lesson today from Vegeta. Then he began to declare war loudly without shame. Bold Vegeta, you dare to call King Frieza by his first name, you are so impatient. In front of the universe spaceship, there were 6 or 7 universe people standing, glaring at Vegeta and cursing. Vegeta, an idiot, is so stupid that he can betray King Frieza, but he dares to come to provoke trouble at this time. What an old birthday star hangs himself, thinking that his life is too long. Oh, is that Vegeta looked coldly at the 6 or 7 people in front of him, all of whom had a fighting power of 5 or 6,000. In the Frieza Legion, it also belongs to the advanced warrior, but for the current self, it is just an ant. Afterwards, he directly aimed at several people with one hand, and a terrifying energy ball condensed out from his palm. How dare you yell in front of me, Lord Vegeta? And at the moment when the word, dead, was downstairs, the energy ball in Vegeta's hand exploded instantly. Burst. Almost instantly, the energy ball exploded from the center of several people. The terrifying explosion directly blasted a big hole in the ground, and mushroom clouds soared into the sky. Those 6 or 7 universe people didn't even scream, and were blasted out of the debris. Cut. A bunch of trash. Looking at the little bits of debris that were still burning, Vegeta said contemptuously. The eyes are arrogant, and at the moment it is completely arrogant. Hey, Vegeta, it seems that you have not only become stronger, but also courageous. You dare to challenge me. Just as Vegeta's contemptuous voice fell, a feminine sneer suddenly came from midair. Vegeta followed the trend and saw Frieza, who suddenly appeared in midair, sitting in the mobility vehicle. He was looking at himself with a gloomy face. Oh, Frieza, you finally came out. Let me Vegeta kill you with my own hands today, and let you see how powerful Saiyan is. Seeing Frieza appearing suddenly, Vegeta did not panic, but still said arrogantly. It seems that the increase in combat power has made him a little too conceited. Really? Then I have to take a good look at what you, Saiyan, are capable of. Frieza's body flew out of the aircraft lightly. Landing directly in front of Vegeta, he said with a relaxed face. It seems that the death of Ginyu and his subordinates just now is not worth mentioning to him at all. Then you'll be fine. Vegeta smiled evilly. Ha ha, ha ha. A deep roar came out of Vegeta's throat, and then Vegeta's breath began to explode instantly. Dee, and the combat power detector in front of Frieza began to ring loudly. Burst. Immediately afterwards, the combat power detector in front of Frieza exploded directly. Over 100,000 combat power, Vegeta, your growth rate really impresses me. Just after the combat power detector in front of him exploded, a surprised expression appeared on Frieza's face. His combat power detector is an old model, which can detect a combat power of less than 100,000, and at this time Vegeta's combat power has obviously exceeded 100,000. In just a few days, I didn't expect Vegeta's combat power to improve so much. While being surprised, it also made Frieza determined to kill Vegeta. Vegeta, definitely can't let him grow up. Die, Frieza. After showing all his strength, Vegeta rushed towards Frieza with a flash of his body. Throw a punch at Frieza's disgusting face. And Frieza was neither slow nor fast, and with a slight flash of his body, he took away Vegeta's attack. Hey, Vegeta, your speed is too slow. Frieza taunted Vegeta while avoiding Vegeta's attack. But, you, how dare you look down on me? Being ridiculed by Frieza, Vegeta gritted his teeth, turned around and attacked again. But still no way to attack Frieza. Hey, I can't even hit a punch. It's really disappointing. Frieza still laughed coldly, but at the next moment, a cold light suddenly shot out from his eyes. Seeing Vegeta's fist hit him, his body dodged cleverly, and then his fist struck out like lightning. Boom! With a muffled sound, Vegeta's fist directly stayed in the air. And Frieza's fist sank heavily into Vegeta's lower abdomen. Ah! Vegeta opened his mouth wide, his pupils were constricted sharply, with a pained look on his face. A wild monkey is indeed a wild monkey, and it is only worthy of being trampled underfoot. When Frieza's cold voice fell again, directly aimed at Vegeta's mouth, a red light flashed out. Then it shot into Vegeta's mouth, and Vegeta's body flew out immediately. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.